Hi, welcome to this month's ComMITT Kit. I'm Shauna Alvarez, the executive chef here at America's Grow-A-Row. We're in the Farm to Fork kitchen. It is the end of the growing season here for us. So we have cabbage coming in, potatoes just finished, and today's recipe is going to really highlight some of that late fall, early winter produce that's available right now in New Jersey. Today's recipe was made with the idea that this is a busy time of year for a lot of people, so this recipe comes together really quickly, and like most of our recipes, is very versatile. We're going to use beans in this soup today, but this is a great recipe for using leftover shredded turkey or chicken, or even ground beef or sausage that you have already cooked. So today what we're going to do is we're going to get all the vegetables going in the pot. We're going to add some beans and tomatoes for flavor and protein. We're going to season it really well, and I'm going to show you a little tip on how to incorporate grains into soups or stews in a way that everybody will really enjoy. So let's get cooking. Okay, today we're going to add a potato to this soup, and I'm going to show you how to dice it into sort of small dice, which is nice because it cooks quickly and it is nice to eat on your spoon, which is always something you should think about when you're putting a lot of different vegetables into something like this. And the technique that I'm going to show you is the way that you would cut almost any type of produce from a large whole into small chunks. And to do that, the first thing you want to do is find the flat side of the produce. Most of the time that means you're cutting it in half. So now you have a flat side, which means it's not going to roll around on you. It's a lot safer to cut that way. And then you can start making decisions about how big or small you want the pieces. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut this into strips. And the width of the strip is going to be the size of the chunk. So you could do bigger or smaller, depending on what you want. I'm going to go that way. And then I'm going to take each of these, I sort of think of them as planks of potatoes. And you can stack them up if you feel confident, or you can do them one at a time. And then cut it into strips. And then turn it the other way. And then run your knife through to get chunks. So this is a really nice size potato chunk to eat. And it's going to cook really quickly. The bigger the chunk of potato, the longer it's going to take. The smaller, the faster you can get dinner on the table. Okay, now we're going to cut up the cabbage for this soup. And the cool thing about the cabbage in this recipe is that we're going to cut it into strips so that when it cooks, it's going to sort of feel like noodles when you're eating it, which is something I like to do a lot with cabbage. But sometimes you get a cabbage and you don't even know how to start and what to do first. So we'll walk through that. So like any other vegetable, you want to get a flat side. And to do that, often with a cabbage, it means you have to go in and down. This is a tough one. And then kind of go from the other direction. And then, there we go. Flip it over. And then you get the interior of the cabbage, which is really beautiful. I love looking at the way they grow. I think they are a very underappreciated vegetable. And today we're just going to shred it, which is how you would shred it for coleslaw or anything like that. You can cut it in half again if you want it to be smaller strips. But today I'm just going to go on a whole head. And you're going to just slice it really thinly. Run your knife down it. And you'll see it starts to fall out into little strips like this. You can go all the way back. And the way that the cabbage grows, and sort of like it's like a rainbow, it means that the whole piece that you cut is going to separate quite naturally. This is sort of the fastest way to do it. You can do it in big chunks if you want to sort of roast it, or finer ones for like a soup, salad, or stew. Now we're going to add all of our cabbage and potatoes, and I'm using a really big pot today, so I'm going to be able to fit all of this cabbage in here. But if you're using a smaller pot, you can always add the cabbages in batches. So what that would look like is that you put, a third of your cabbage in, stir it into the hot soup, or put the lid on just to let it start to wilt, which will start creating more space in the pot. And then you can add more and more. But I'm going to just put it all in because I have the space today. And if you need to add more stock or liquid here to make sure that your potatoes are totally covered. You can do that. And so stir it really well. And if you actually need to add more liquid, you can. And then you're just gonna let it simmer for about 20 minutes or until the potatoes are cooked through. And you'll know that because when you take a fork or a little knife and poke through all the little potato cubes, it'll be soft and it'll go in easily. So our soup is all done. The potatoes are soft, the cabbage is cooked, and as always, you should give it a taste, give the broth a taste, and if you want to change it, change the flavors a little bit, add a little bit of salt, a little bit of like lemon juice or something like that. That's a great thing to do right now. And then what we're going to do is, I have like leftover farro from a meal I made a little while ago, and it's cold, but it's fully cooked. And you can do this with rice or with cooked pasta. What you're gonna do is just put some in the bottom of the bowl. And then you're gonna ladle the hot soup on top. And the reason we do that is because if this just stayed in the soup and went into the fridge, eventually it would absorb so much water that it would just become mushy and it would take a lot of the liquid out of the soup. And it's the same thing for pasta or rice. So if you do it this way, you can kind of use leftovers, which is great, but then you also get sort of the texture you like. And then you'll just ladle like a bunch of the veggies on top, some of the broth, and then that will heat up all the farro that's in there. I have some parsley here. If you have lemon juice or chili flakes or hot sauce, all the things that I love, you could add it here. And I said in the beginning that you can use leftovers for this. When I was making this recipe, I was thinking about having, that leftover turkey. This would be a great place to use just little bits of it. A rotisserie chicken, or any sort of like leftover pork from dinner. Just throw it in here and you'll add more flavor and more protein, and it's a good way not to waste any food. So I hope you enjoy this month's meal and it keeps you nice and warm and cozy, and I can't wait to see you again.